we're used to thinking of North Korea as the most closed country on earth, and certainly in almost every way it is. But just because it's closed doesn't mean that it's surrounded by a barbed wire fence with armed guards and barking dogs that make it so that no one can ever leave. In fact, many North Koreans leave North Korea on a daily basis, sometimes illegally, but often legally. The North Korean government sends out workers to work in the fields and factories and in construction in many countries around the world, from Russia to Mongolia to Southeast Asia to the Middle East. North Koreans go out as students. North Koreans who are in good standing with the North Korean government are able to visit their relatives in China. And what that means is on any given day, there are North Koreans who can be reached for the gospel, not only inside of North Korea, but in many of the other countries around the world. And that's why Voice of the Martyrs Australia partners with Voice of the Martyrs Korea to do underground North Korean Christian ministry. In our underground North Korean Christian ministry project, our underground university North Korean missionary trainees, as well as specially trained discipleship-based leaders, work in all of the countries that I've mentioned to be able to reach North Koreans during those periods where they come out of North Korea, as well as to bring valuable resources inside of North Korea, things like audio Bibles and printed Bibles for North Korean underground Christians to use there. The work is especially dangerous. In the 18 years that Voice of the Martyrs Korea has existed, we have had 36 martyrs, 36 men and women who have laid down their life for Christ in this underground Christian work. Our most recent one was Pastor Han, who died on April 30th, 2016, after having led our discipleship base in Changbai, China for many years. So it's dangerous work, but it's also incredibly effective work. But Voice of the Martyrs Australia also works with Voice of the Martyrs Korea to do underground work inside of China. Just in the same way we reach North Korean people, China is filled not only with Han Chinese people, that's when we think of Chinese people, that's really what we mean is Han Chinese people, but there are hundreds of other ethnicities of people in China. Many of them have different languages and different cultures, from the Uyghurs in the north into Tibet into the southwest. Each of those population groups require a different strategy. What all of them have in common is that all of them need specialized training to be able to know, they all know that the work that they do is especially dangerous and it may end in martyrdom, as it has for 36 of our Voice of the Martyrs Korea team members. But we want to make sure that if people lay down their lives for Christ, it's not as a result of a lack of training or carelessness. So one of the things that Voice of the Martyrs Australia does is that they support our Underground University China project and our Underground North Korean Christian Ministry projects to provide that specialized training for people in the field. I can't explain or describe to you exactly how it's done for security reasons, but what I can tell you is this, is that over the years that Voice of the Martyrs has existed around the world, we've found certain resources in print that are especially effective at being able to equip these underground Christians to be able to know how to reach other underground Christians in the places that they live. And so through digital means and through printing presses that are operated in the most innovative ways, Voice of the Martyrs Australia equips us to be able to supply North Korean and Chinese Christians with the tools that they need to be able to spread the gospel. Always the focus of Voice of the Martyrs' work is evangelism and discipleship. And we're not a mission organization, so that means that we're not Australians or Americans or South Koreans who are reaching out in those places. What our founder, Pastor Richard Wurmbrand, said was, give us the tools and we'll complete the work. And that's what we hear Chinese and North Korean Christians saying. They're even willing to lay down their lives for the completion of the work. But if we don't supply the tools, then it's difficult for them to complete the work with maximum effectiveness. One of the projects that's underway now that Voice of the Martyrs Australia has helped us immensely in is that Chinese Christians have known that the day was coming that they would no longer be able to meet in church buildings. For some time, things had eased up so that even unregistered Christians could, in parts of the country, meet in very large gatherings. But all that has changed. And even during the time of coronavirus, these churches, which are either called underground churches or family churches, have not even been able to meet online. More and more of the leaders are being put in prison. And so last year, Chinese Christian leaders, anticipating by the Holy Spirit that these things would happen, that the situation would get worse and worse in China, they asked us to be able to provide them with 5,000 what they call, or what we call in English, Sunday schools in a box. And so what these are they're digital resources and print resources that allow ordinary Chinese Christians in their homes and in their neighborhoods to be able to provide all of the training that would be necessary to be able to teach children everything about the Old and the New Testament. I wish I could show you what one of those boxes look like, but the truth is that the material is highly confidential. All of it is material that is actually legally available in very limited places in China. And so we don't buy it in bulk and put it in a large warehouse and distribute it from a central operation. It's all very diffuse. It's all distributed around the country. And the ways that Chinese Christians do this is really amazing. Voice of the Martyrs Australia has helped us to be able to provide these Sunday schools in a box to many Chinese Christians. In fact, we now have funds for 4,700 of these boxes. We're on the last 300. So we're praying that you will pray with us for those last 300 boxes that we can supply to the funds for those boxes to underground Chinese Christians. It's interesting, isn't it? We think about this time of coronavirus almost as being a time of lockdown where the church is not able to do its work. But interestingly, Chinese Christians have already prepared. And so the Sunday School in a Box is the perfect tool for them at this time. When they can't meet offline or online, it's the perfect tool for them to continue the work of the gospel. Pastor Wurmbrand said many years ago, give us the tools and we'll complete the work. Underground Chinese and underground North Korean Christians, they know the tools that they need. They're asking us to help supply those tools. We thank you, Voice of the Martyrs Australia, for your faithfulness in doing that. And we're counting on your prayers and your support in the future. Thanks for all you're doing in the work of Christ, in the name of Christ.